Folks, more and more buyers are regretting their decision. I'll get into that and then the latest home prices and insights for the city of Toronto for week ending June 19th, 2024. When we talk about buyers regretting their decision, buyer's remorse, what comes to mind, and we've talked about it at length on this show, is that buyers can no longer afford their homes, or they bought and now values are down, and they bought and interest rates are forcing them to sell again, and they regret their buying decision. That's not what I'm talking about today. There's more and more buyers regretting the decision of where they purchased. Buyers will start off and they'll want to buy, say, in Toronto. That's where their work is. That's where their families are. That's where their friends is. All their lifestyle is centered around somewhere in Toronto. And when they save their down payment and they're ready to buy and they've qualified for a mortgage, they start looking at properties and nothing that kind of fits their budget. They can't find it in Toronto. It doesn't exist, or they're going to have to really compromise on the type of home they want to buy. And one or two of their friends have moved way out. Way out is all relative, right? It could be they moved to Mississauga or Pickering, for example, or a bit more north to York Region. But others have moved even further out. And they see what their friends or family have bought in some of these other areas. And they think, man, for the budget of what I'm buying here, I could get so much more home outside of the area, outside of where my lifestyle is. And they buy and they think everything is going to be great. And for many people, life turns out to be wonderful. They have a bigger house than they normally would have purchased. I'm not talking in any way that they cannot afford it. That's not at all what I'm talking about. They can afford that home. But for that budget to buy where they really wanted to be initially, they'd be buying a much lesser home. And they would not have been comfortable in that lesser home. It's too small or it needs a lot of work. But you start moving out, and then they could get the home that they want or get a better home than what they thought that they were going to get. There's an expression in real estate, drive until you can afford it. So keep driving out of the city until the home prices start to adjust to what you can afford. A lot of people have done that over the years, and they've done well. They've adjusted. Everything is great. But as more and more of these subdivisions get built way out, like there's subdivisions all over the rural parts way outside the GTA. As more and more of these get built, more and more buyers are regretting their decision. There's nothing wrong with these towns. And I'm going to name a few. There's nothing wrong with these towns, though. There's tons of, Innisfil is just exploding. Lots of subdivisions. I love Innisfil. I think it's a great town. There's areas way on the north side of Whitby, the other side of Oshawa. And you start going the other way, you go way up, you go to Alliston, you go to the other side. Georgetown is communities all over Georgetown being built. And people will move out there and have a way better home. And for the first little while, they're excited. Family and friends are visiting. It's like, look where we live. We're so excited here. And that wears off really quick because family and friends stop visiting. They don't show up anymore because of the commute and you're so far away. You go into town, you have dinner, you visit family and friends and then drive home. You yourself, the buyer, is like, I don't want to do this anymore. It's like so far to come back then home. You stop visiting family and friends. Family and friends stop visiting you. You stop going to if you're into shows or you're into, the restaurant scene, you stop going because it's so far from where you live now. And the community you're in doesn't offer you what you were used to doing. Your lifestyle has changed. And many buyers are regretting that. I'm not necessarily saying the percentage of buyers changed, but there's so many more buyers that have changed because of affordability in the city. Many more people have gone out, and that's why they continue to build these subdivisions way out of town, because people are buying them and they're regretting it. And now we get calls of people saying, I need to sell. And when you think I need to sell, the first thing you think about is what everybody thinks about these days. Oh, interest rate, they can no longer afford it. Has nothing to do with that. They don't enjoy their life anymore. They're regretting where they are. And in those cases, those people wish they didn't buy. A lot of those will wish they should have just waited a bit more, saved a bit more money, instead of buying this year, buying in 1 or 2 years from now, where they could afford to live the way they wanted in the area they wanted. But they, followed the dream, got the bigger house, got the home that was more than what they expected out of town, and now they regret their decision. Nobody can decide if you're going to be okay with your lifestyle or not. I'm talking about this now because it's something you really, really, absolutely have to consider. Nobody can decide that for you. For sure, the obvious is, commute. It's going to be longer. It's going to take you longer to go to work every day or 2 days a week, depending on whatever your work schedule is. But there's all those other things that the family, the friends, what you're used to doing. Are people going to visit you? Are you going to visit them? You may be perfectly happily isolated on your own without that contact. Other people are not, and you don't know. And oftentimes, the partners, husband and wife, they have different feelings. For one, it's okay. For the other, they got to be close to where their lifestyle was before. So think about it. Think about it long and hard before you make the commitment. Because if you're not happy, so what if you can afford it? Maybe it's better you didn't buy, you waited a little bit longer to be able to afford the home in the area you want it to be. Let me know what you think about this. If you've experienced this, or you know somebody that you used to see every day and now you don't want to visit them anymore because of where they moved to. If you feel this video can help somebody pass it along. If you get value from what we're talking about, subscribe. And if you want to speak with me about your real estate situation, selling, buying, it's really simple. Up here, there's a link to my calendar. Below this video in the description is a link to my calendar. Click on that, book a time that's convenient for you, and we'll talk about whatever's on your mind. Now, let's get into the numbers. Here we go, folks. City of Toronto for week ending June 19th, 2024. Here's a quick summary. We're talking about the freehold market in this show. So detached, towns and semis. I do have the condo average sold prices here. Condo is a whole other show. That comes out tomorrow. But the difference between the average sold price of condos and the average sold price of detached, it's about $1 million. In this example, it's $969,000 difference between condos, detached, average sold price. We're going to start off with the detached market. It's just for the city of Toronto. So there's no Mississauga numbers. There's no Pickering Ajax numbers. There's no York region numbers. It's just the city of Toronto. Detached properties only for week ending June 19th. 180 detached properties were sold. That's down a little bit from the previous week where we sold 199, but 199 was up from the week before that, and that was down from the week before. It's really tough to see right now the trend. That's really what I'm after from doing this. I want to be able to say things are trending in this direction or that direction, or they're kind of flat. I'm kind of thinking that sales are sort of flat, but we are a bit lower than what we've seen over the last several weeks. We've been around 200 for a while, but we've also been under 200 for a while. It's tough to say where sales are trending at. 44 of those 180 sold at $2 million or more. Average sold price, it's easier to pick a trend in this chart with average sold price. Average sold price is trending down. Average sold price for week ending June 19th for detached properties in the city of Toronto is $1,708,000. 1,708 is 1% lower than where it was this time a year ago. The median price is also 1% lower. If we look at the dotted line, the 4-week moving average, we could see average price trending lower. Median price is also trending lower, but only over the last 4 weeks or so, where average price, we can go back about 2 months and we can see it trending down. Of the 180 that sold, 51% of those, so half, sold at list price or more. That percentage is trending down. Listings, fewer than last week, but still higher than what we've seen for over the last 3 months. But active listings, the amount of detached properties sitting on the market unsold that weekend. So how many detached properties are actually available for sale? It's 2,115. That number is trending up, the amount of detached properties that go unsold every week. And months of inventory is trending up. We're sitting at 2.7 months of inventory, which is at the top end of a seller's market, approaching a balanced market. Kind of explains why half the properties, 51%, are selling at list price or more. It's kind of just, right there at the middle. Those numbers so far are for the whole city of Toronto. This map breaks Toronto down into 9 different sections. Now, one observation I'm going to point out here, usually when we have the city of Toronto months of inventory and I look at the map, there's a huge fluctuation off the months of inventory. Here we're at 2.7. So normally I'd see some areas at 1 or less and other areas at 5 or 6, and the average is, in the middle. Not today. We're seeing a lot of the averages not that far from our Toronto average as a whole of 2.7. Now, there's some variations, Riverdale, I'm pointing out here, Riverdale Beaches area, months of inventory, 1.2 months of inventory, 77% sold at list price or more. Excuse me, 77% sold at list price or more. 31 detached properties were sold. Scarborough, that is normally far superior than what the Toronto average is as a whole. It's not that far off, actually. 2.7 for all of Toronto. Scarborough, 2.4 months of inventory. 54% sold at list price or more, where all of Toronto was 51% selling at list price or more. And some of the, Etobicoke, 25 sales were done, 2.8 months of inventory. York Mills, Rosedale, average price is over 2.8 million, 4.6 months of inventory, a third selling at list price or more. But that's the whole city of Toronto. Let's look at semis. 64 semi-detached properties were sold. 14 of those were at $1.5 million or more. Average sold price is $1,293,000. 1,293 is 11% lower year over year. The median price is also 11% lower year over year. Months of inventory for semi-detached properties at 1.5, right in the middle of a seller's market. 56% of those sold at list price or more. Townhomes, these are freehold townhomes. 15 of them were sold for week ending June 19th. 5 were at $1.5 million or more. Average sold price up from the previous week to $1,370,000. 1370 is 6% lower year over year. The median price is 2% lower, and months of inventory sitting at 3.3 months of inventory. Here's a quick summary. Detached, semis, towns. Some neighborhoods, you're going to experience a seller's market. I'm not going to go so far as to say it's an extreme seller's market, because really there'll be isolated situations for that awesome house that everybody wants, and they'll ignore all the other properties, but they want that one that is just so awesome. But in most cases, we're going to be at the top end of a seller's market, so somewhat of a seller's market, and we're going to experience a balanced market. There's not too many areas that it's going to be a buyer's market. I know lots of people throwing all these words around. Balanced market, top end of a seller's market. That's really what you can expect in the freehold category across the city of Toronto. Have an awesome day.